Alright, next we are going to make a parachute. First, you want to take a piece of paper, a piece of loose leaf, anything, and a pair of scissors. Cut 1 inch by 3 inch up the sheet of paper, as I am showing you. This will be the anchor for our shock cord, which we are going to make for our recovery system for our rocket. Fold 3/4 of the way, and then fold another 3/4 like so. And that is our anchor. Here we have one already made. Next is we're going to take a piece of string, yarn or anything would do. We want the string to be at least 3 feet. Just as I am showing you, take your piece and make it into half, and then do the same till you got something that looks like this. Then we cut the string, and then we're going to set this aside like so. Next, to make our shock cord, we are going to use rubber bands. Doesn't matter the size, you can use any size, any color. Cut approximately 1 slit in each band like this, and then we are going to tie what's known as a reef knot into each band. If you can get a good close look at this. And this is what we are going to do. Make sure you pull the knot extremely tight like so, because you do not want it to come apart until you have something like this. Next, we are going to take our anchor, and about number 3, just put a dot with your pencil. Take some wood glue. A dab will do, and a dab there. And we are going to put the end of your shock cord into the middle, where it's like this. And you fold down this way. You fold down again. And that's how we make our anchors. Here we have one already complete. So it will turn out to be something like this. Alright, next is we're going to make our parachute. Alright, what you do is you just get a grocery bag, whatever you want to use. You cut one end out. Just cut it to about a 1 inch square, 1 foot by 1 foot square, till you have something like this. Now this is about the size of our grocery bag. Then what we're going to do, we take our string. This is a very interesting trick that we used to do, is you make a knot, tie it around like so. Just make a random knot, whatever you feel is comfortable with. Now there's a little trick we like to do. We take the end of our string, we tie it around the string. This way here it prevents the shock line holding the parachute on from falling off. That way there, the parachute will and the string will never come apart during ejection of your model rocket. You just tie it until it's like that. And here we have one already complete. Now, next, just bring these 4 pieces together. We're making a 4-thread parachute. However many you want to go, just make a loop knot, like I am doing here. Very simple. And that's it. And there's your parachute. Now you'll take one of your ends of your shock cord, which this end is going to go in your nose. Tie this around just anywhere in this area of the second strand of your shock cord. Not to worry, these shock cords have been, this is just sort of a rough idea of what you can do. You can also go to a fabric store and buy a waist elastic. Make sure it's really thin. They work just as good, anything. And this is how we do ours. This is like this is making a rocket from scratch. All right, there we go. I just pull that down there. There's your recovery system. Now, for here we have our rocket. It's done, ready to go. Now you take the long end and you want to glue this inside here. So you take your wood glue. A couple dabs there will be fine. And then you put that in there and just get it all the way down there until your fingers no more. Take your middle finger and just pat around inside. Just pat the shock cord really nice and tight against the wall of the tube until you get it in there. And next you take your other end with the parachute closest to it. This will go into your nose cone, which will go into there. So you do the same thing, same idea, repeat this process. You want to make sure you get this thing a lot of glue because this is going to be anchored and you don't want to have any accidents during your flight. Try to avoid all accidents. Otherwise, if the ejection comes and your anchor is not properly secure, your rocket will crash to the ground and your nose will fly away, which we've had many encounters with that. Now we have your recovery system ready to go, but the rocket's not quite finished. Set this aside and let it dry. Okay, this step is the getting to know your launch system, so we are going to begin. First of all, with our launch systems, you have your basic pad, your launch rod. Each launch rod is supposed to be roughly 3 to 4 feet. 3 feet is a good limit. Then you have your blast disc, which as shown, and then your pad is your feet. Alright, first your rod always goes into this part here as shown. As you can see here, we have it into side, and then you have to tighten it, which usually it's clockwise to tighten it. and then you straighten up your rod. The rod is to be no more than 30-degree angles in any direction, straight up and down for best results. Once you've got your rod in place, put on your blast disc, which just slides in place, which is also, this is the second version type. This here is our 4-foot rod, which we also use. It's been quite used. Next, we will continue on to our control pad. This is the SD's version of hand foot control. As you can see, it fits nicely in the hand. You have your launch button, your arming light, and your safety interlock key, which to demonstrate how this works is during a launch you would apply this interlock key into the switch like so, and then you would have your light would come on when your rocket's armed, just as you can see there, and then when you go to launch you push your button, the light goes out and your rocket is being launched. When you are finished, you remove the key and your control is disarmed. These here are clips which you connect to your igniter when your rocket is on the pad. We will get to that in another step. This here is our Coast Rocketeers 12 volt system. The other control that we just shown you was a 6 volt. This one is for doing more heavy duty launches, say flying 2-engine rockets or more. It can also handle up to 2 rockets at a time. This here is a hand switch. It is a thumb key, which is your launch ignition button. But the only way this thing's work is the reverse of the SD's version. This is our own version. First you have your power switch. When your batteries are hooked up, which are these wires here, which you have your positive and negative, these go to a 12 volt battery. This control can hold up to 18 volts, but is recommended for 12. This here is your power gauge. You have your red, your orange, your yellow, green, and blue. Anything that is in yellow and lower, it is not powerful enough to launch. Green, blue, and purple are your strong points. Those will launch your rocket. Blue being green being your batteries are good. Blue mean your batteries are launchable, and purple is for dual engine launches. The better color, the higher color you got, the better. First, you have your power button, which is located right here. As you can see, it says power. We flick that on when we are ready to launch. These buttons can be a little sticky. And then next, then your power gauge will come on. It'll go to either color, showing you which. Right now, there's no power, and those hook up. Next, then you flick your arm switch. Then your ready light will come on. As like the other control, when you push down on this button, that light will go out and your rocket is being launched. Hold it down for a few seconds. This control is a little different. It's a little more confusing than the other one. It has, instead of 2 hookup cables, it has 4 for 4 igniters. It also can, anyway, here is your 1 lead feed, which is right here. These hook up to either engine. Though it is a little tricky. When we go to do our launches, we will explain more about this control. But this would be these two, which are different colors. One is copper, and then the other is silver. The silver would go onto one igniter lead, and then the copper would go onto the other. It'd be the same thing for rocket launches. Alright, that covers the operating system for this. And we will now proceed to our next step. Alright, this is step 5, how to prepare your rocket for launch. We are not going to be launching this rocket, but we are going to show you how to properly prepare it for a launch. Alright, this is the rocket that we built throughout the video. As you can see, we haven't decided to name it yet, but we can name it whatever you want. Alright, we're not going to get into that. First of all, we're going to talk about what size engines will properly fit this rocket. Okay, First of all, this is a D motor. Also, C11s are about the same size. You see that engine will not fit in there, so we cannot use a D. This here is a T size engine. They're called minis. As you see, these are really good engines too, but it is also the wrong size, so we cannot use these engines. Here we have is a standard engine. These engines go from A's to C's. C67 is the highest, which will actually work. This is an A83. As you can see, this is the proper set. This is the proper size engine for this mount. So how can you tell which direction? Well, this here is the ejection. As you can see, it's where the ejection charge is. Putting it in this way is considered the wrong way. This here is a nozzle section, so we want this facing out. We slide this engine in all the way until you can't push it in no further. Alright, so the engine is inside the casing. Next is we will take out a recovery system. We will have to pack what's known as webbing inside for this standard rocket. Here we go, we have some webbing already. It's okay if it's pre-used. This rocket will use probably about 3 pieces of webbing. Just stuff it in. You'll just make sure if you're going to reuse webbing, you scrunch it, you loosen up as I'm showing you. Do exactly how I'm showing you. You just push it in. Just get it right in there, right nice and tight. Okay, this is a kind of a burnt up piece. Put that one in there. I'll also stuff that in there. Never hurt to have too much. Usually for a rocket this size, is about 3 pieces will be fine. Then you'll roll up your engine, your parachute I mean, and you'll put the parachute in first. We usually don't wrap the cord around, or otherwise the parachute will not eject properly and it'll get stuck, causing your rocket to crash around. Stuff the parachute inside the tube. Stuff it all the way in there, get it nice and snug. Then you put in your recovery system. You stuff that in there. Also, then you want to put your nose cone back on. This rocket is not exactly ready, but the recovering system's packed. She has her webbing. Now, the next important step is here we have plugs and igniters. Alright, as you can see, there's different colors, different sizes plugs. Now, there's 3 plugs. This is the green plug. It's used for the mini engines. This is a white plug. It's usually used for the Ds. Now, there's a difference between these 2 plugs. These plugs are usually used for Cs because the the nozzle is smaller. These are mostly found in As. Alright, first of all, what you'll do is you want to bend your 2 wires like this. These are the connections, which are usually for your feed, which would go onto that. But yeah, that's how that would go. What you do, take your igniter, put it in. You may want to separate, make sure there's no touching there. You put that in, get it in there. Then you put your plug in. Make sure that's in there nice and snug. Oh, we used the wrong size plug. This igniter will fall out with that plug, so we need to use this one. You also want to make sure it's in there. There, plug's in there. This rocket's ready for a launch, as you can see there. And then you would hook your launch cables up to these, which are the alligator clips. Now this rocket is armed for a launch. Also make sure to check to see if it's snug. Always keep your engine and launch rod away from each other, because the rod will go up through here, and if it's like that, well, as you can see, you're going to have to always make sure nothing is touching, or you may get a misfire. And put this rod, then you will take your rocket, and then you will put it onto the launch rod. You just slide her down onto the rod, so she is touching like this. And I'll just kind of make sure she's on there good. Now she's on the rod. Alright, So this rocket's on the rod. Just to take it off, you just slide it up the rod, you slide it. And then you slide it back down. You want to make sure it's nice and snug because it's loose. This is also another part you want to be careful on this type of rod, is make sure this is not touching in anywhere in the tube that it's launched. If this little plastic piece in the tube is touching, it can cause a burnout, which can be very dangerous. So our suggestion is put a little piece of tape just roughly about where my finger is above this piece here. That will stop the two pieces from touching, and always make sure the tape is right about here, away from it, touching the lugs only, so that way this here is free to glide up the rod as she ignites. That is all for this step, and we will now proceed to the next step. Alright, before we pack up for launching, here is some of the things we may need for launch. Alright, before you go out into the field, it's always good to have a preparation of the supplies you may need, because you never know when you may run into things. First of all, it's always a good idea to take some needle nose pliers, a pair of scissors, screwdriver and an extra bit, a small ruler, a pencil, some tape, and a couple of screws. Also, it might not hurt to have some twist ties, some rubber bands, some string, an extra pack of webbing. Also, you may want to take some straws, which we would use for spare launch lugs, just in case. Some trail marking tape is also a good thing to have. Make yourself an extra parachute, but do not assemble it, because you may need this on a launch. Here's a little funky idea. A bag stuffed in a cardboard tube. Compact, lightweight, and easy to move. Just all that's inside is just one grocery bag to clean up any garbage or debris. Batteries. We always like to keep our batteries separate from anything else in the box. But yes, keep spare fresh batteries in case you may need them. Also a attachment piece for your 9-volt battery in case you want. 9 volts are good to have on hand. Some extra alligator clips, a few feet of spare wire, your launch system, which consists of your pad, the legs, the attachment piece to build the tripod, your control pad, your interlock key and your cap for your rod. This little plastic piece. Also, you may want to take off some spare engines, because you never know when you want how many rockets. Of course, you want your rocket, naturally. Your little container in here. This is a neat. We have our plugs and igniters into a separate little dish. Now, when we go to, and then also you would want to have a box. We recommend you go to Canadian Tire or a hardware store and buy either a fishing tackle box or a tool box. Will be just fine. Roughly about this size is all you need. I mean, they come in a ton of varieties and colors. I mean, these are excellent to have on the field. Hold all your supplies. Alright, first of all, we're going to load up our engines. Now, the engines we usually will put on the top. These are what we want. Alright, we got some mini engines. We'll just put them in there. Your interlock key. You can also put the little plastic piece up there. There are launch lugs in there as well. Find a nice little place for those. goes up in there. Also put the extra wire in there. Get that in there good. You put your screws in about there. This extra twist ties, you never know when you may need them. Elastics, you can put them in the launch lugs or wherever you find a place for them. Make sure you get them in there. The extra parachute. It's always good to have this extra stuff because you just never know when you may need to do an emergency repair or you have a problem. Because usually the launch lugs can fall off the rocket whilst during transportation, or your parachute may need some minor adjustments or repairs. Never hurts to have this. Now just a small pencil. You can always have a small pencil on hand. It's always good to have one of those. Put your extra bits in there. Now we can close this section up and move on to the second part. Sure that's on there good. This up. Alright. Now, put your legs in there. We rather have ours all standing up, nice and neat, nice and clean. Now we'll put our launch control unit in there. This one's already has the batteries in it, but we do have our spare batteries. Put that on that side. Extra bag of recovery webbing. Stuff that in there nicely. We also have a extra bag just in case we may need that. Our plugs, our spare batteries, our trail marking tape, extra string, our little tripod stand, the extra bag, ruler, scissors, the needle nose pliers, screwdriver, your black electrical tape. You can use any other tape you find useful, your spare wire, your blast disc. Just get that in there nice and snug. Your little bag, and don't forget your rocket. Yeah, just might want to be careful you don't get your rocket inside there nicely. It's alright if your fins are a little squished. Sometimes they can squish them in there. There. Now we have our box ready to go. Now you just close up your box. Not all rockets are going to fit into your box either. So what we suggest, and also don't forget you want your launch rod. Very important if you plan to go fly off rockets. Alright, just another extra safety step is just make sure you have you can also bring a fire extinguisher if you wish. That would be good in case there's dry days and that. You can get them at Canadian Tire. They're usually roughly about $15. These boxes can range anywhere from $5 to $10 to $25. Even if you want to get a metal toolbox, whatever you prefer. Also, you can build your own box to hold all your supplies. We've built a couple of boxes in the past. The best directions for a box would be roughly 1 foot by 1 foot by 4 feet is the best. That concludes this step. Coast. We are here at the launch site for this part. This is going to be a launch day where we have rockets. We are going to prepare our rocket and ready. First up, we're going to do a field test. Now, we generally look around, see if anyone's around. This field's pretty empty. There's nobody in sight. And, of course, we have about winds roughly 15 kilometers to 10, which is very, very acceptable. We've got a clear day. It's supposed to cloud over later this afternoon, so let's get what we can done. We've also got our control pad, so this step we are going to fly some rockets. This here is our Coast rocket, the one that we built throughout this video. And let's give this one a whirl. Wow. That went up, and that was only way 3. Nice. Recovery didn't employ properly though. But she did come down nicely. Alright, this is the SG's combination 3 rocket. That went pretty well. Yep. No damage. Very good. Let's try this again. This is so hard to do with the okay. Alright. Well, that wasn't so bad. Alright, this is our last launch for the season. Whoa. Oh, girly jet. Yes! Beautiful. You're kidding me! This here's our little ultralight rocket. It's complete lightweight. It uses a mini engine. It also is relatively small. It should peak about 300 feet. What we'll now do is we are going to power up our pad, turn on our arm, pick up our control, and nobody seems to be around for this one. We are good. Doesn't seem to be anything happening. Alright, I'm going to disarm the control and I'm going to check. Alright, this is a little tricky. Now I got to do a two-hand with this SG's controller. I'm going to put in the key. Now, let's see some action. Strange, maybe my batteries aren't lively. Alright, this can generally happen. I'm going to try to change my batteries. Okay, we changed the igniter and probably it wasn't in properly, so we're going to try it again with our 12-volt system. We're arming and we're putting the power. And we are yet again another failure. Here's another one. That wasn't too good. Alright, we removed the interlock key and we put it onto to arm this control. As you can see here, this rocket's ready to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our lead one. Now always make sure your power supply is turned off and your control pad's disarmed. We are now hooking up this rocket and preparing it for today's launch. This rocket has a C65. This is a test model. We are going to test the height and driftability on this field. Though losing this rocket is a high possibility, that is the risk we're going to take. Alright. Checking, making sure one final check that everything is all safe. Everything is on the clear. Alright. This control pad is very simple. What we are going to do, we are going to first arm it. We are arming it now. The power is now on. We have power indicating into the purple. We are now arming the rocket. The arm light is now on. Now, we are going to, since there is nobody around, it is just myself, I'm going to push the button. Here we have is the Irish rover. Oh no. And into the tree it goes. Damn it. Oh yeah, there she is, right in the tree too. Oh, this is what I hate about. See if you can see it. Well, we found that rocket, but it's going to be a little bit of a trick to recover it. It's in a tree, safe in a tree. Seems to be undamaged. But, well, that can sometimes happen. Although I don't know if it's going to be easy to recover or not. It's in there pretty good. It ejected right into the tree, so at least it didn't land anywhere else. Thank goodness. We lucked out with that.
Right.